Buongiorno and welcome to Koi Fish Johnny. Right, I've literally just finished trimming my bush, so now I can see what I'm working with. Okay, right, so first things first, I would just like to say a massive, huge thank you to everybody that's reached out, be it direct messaging, comments, everything. It just blows my mind the amount of good people there are out there. Don't get it wrong, there's some little nincompoops as well, but the good people, awesome, absolutely love it. And thank you so much for your support. I am dealing with this a lot better because, like I say, I'm mentally prepared for this. To be honest, unfortunately, it's not like a shock that this is happening. I've known about this coming, as have a lot of people known it's coming for a very long time. So the situation has arrived that we all anticipated would arrive. The biggest fear that I've had, and like I say, it's been 7 months with this, so we're just going to go through it, and that's just going to be it. I'm going to have to put on my big boy pants, pull them up and deal with whatever comes from this particular situation. I'd love not to be doing this. I really would love not to be doing this. I'd give anything to be back how I was this time last year, which was dealing with green pond water. I mean, that's a dream now, to be just dealing with green pond water. But I'm not. I've not got green pond water. I've got this weird rubbery algae all around the pond. It's bloody awful to look at. But I've also got bacteria in there, which is trying to kill my fish. And Mr. Bacteria, that's what I call it, Mr. Bacteria, doesn't give a... It's just going to go through what it can. It's like a rat. It'll literally just try and survive as long as it can in that pond, hopping and moving, bobbing and weaving and just getting around the bacteria. It's just not a nice thing. You can't lock it down and sort of deal with it then and there. It's just awful to think about this situation. But the good side is I don't feel alone. I feel like there's a lot of people that have got me back out there. Not got me back in a way of me versus something, because it is just me versus Mr. Bacteria that's in there. And like I say, if I had this magic wand over the pond, I would sprinkle cancellation bacteria all over it and just be back to a stage of just enjoying the hobby. But unfortunately, this isn't something that, like Paula says, Dr Paula Reynolds, because I have actually spoken to Dr Paula Reynolds, unlike some people that claim they have, which is nothing to do with me, but turns my stomach less about that and more about what Johnny is dealing with, and that is his pond at the minute. So I spent on Friday I spent 64 minutes talking to Dr Paula Reynolds. She loves to talk, and I also love to talk. As she's a damn sight more educated than I am, I have to listen, or not have to listen, I am all ears, and I'm just listening to her, and she's passionate. She talks about things that I had no idea about before I went in. But I'm going to repress some of this stuff back to you. Obviously, I am not a doctor, I am not educated to a high degree in this field, but I'll just explain my understandings of what I took away from that particular, the conversation. Basically, what she says is it's going to get worse before it gets better, and to just think that it's not going to be a nice experience, this, going through this. She also feels hugely frustrated at the vet. I'm going to have to read this, so bear with me. The Vet Act of Parliament, something like that, is a Vet Act of Parliament, which basically means that antibiotics aren't that easy to get hold of in the UK. Unfortunately, now I'm finding that out, you would think that there would be like a vast, or before going through this, I would have thought there was a vast amount of vets that can help jump in, inject, get a lot of money for it, or get the money for it and save the fish. But unfortunately, it seems to be that you have to go to a grey market, or not black market, and get them off people that care, that want to provide this ability for the fish to survive, like other people have done in this particular situation. So that is very frustrating for her, very frustrating for me, and very frustrating if you've had to get antibiotics or injections or whatever they are into your koi as just a hobbyist. If you're alone, it is impossible. Pretty much, I'm saying about 0.5% chance of obtaining the antibiotics you need. But Dr Paula Reynolds is amazing, and she does offer she didn't charge me for speaking to her, by the way, and like I said, I did over an hour with her. We could have done more, but it was the weekend and the sun was out. So anyway, one of the things that, like I said, I'm not going to go through everything we spoke about there. I'm also going to update you on Jaffa as well at the end, unfortunately. But yeah, just about what Paula Reynolds said in relation to this. One thing that she said is about a fish's immune system, and I found this really interesting because what I took away from it has sort of made me understand what is happening in my pond and why it's happening in a specific order. Because I thought that why are all these little fish surviving? Why are all my fish that I've had for a long time, the little fellas, and sort of like the fish that I've had for quite a long time, like Otis and that, and White Walker, why are they all surviving this? Whereas the newer ones going in, why are they, or if you look at the last 3 that I added just before the bacteria entered my pond. So basically a koi is born with an innate level of immunity. Just like us humans, this is a very dumbed down sort of level of what I'm trying to repress here. But it has helped me understand what is to come, how it's to come, and what order I could potentially expect it to happen, and why what has happened to the specific fish within there, in the order it has. I had the Karachigoi in, the infected Karachigoi in, with the bacterial issue. Because that Karachigoi is suffering, it's on its last legs, it dies within 10 days. But then that has transferred into the water, and the water then has transferred it into the fish has then gone into his bloodstream, and then what I understand, and I could be a little bit out here, is then it's through the poop then that goes back into the water, and then that sort of enables the bacteria to spread. Or it definitely can come from like lesions and wounds and stuff into the water. But anyway, back to my original point. My original point is a fish is born with an innate level of immunity. And just like humans are, this is the way I'm going to try and explain it for you guys. Then the more they encounter in life, the more that immunity can build up and the fish can become more resilient. So say my older fish in my pond, because they've been in my pond, which may not be the perfect environment because I'm a hobbyist. There's birds around here, the flying variety, and there are other things that can potentially contaminate my pond and provide a less than perfect condition for the fish to be in. So the fish will naturally, because it's in this pond, develop a level of immunity over time the more it's exposed to it. Much like a child going to nursery, like when my Dylan went to nursery, he was in 1 week, out the next, in 1 week, out the next, and it was just like hell dealing with that. But that's like what he is developing his immunity to what is in essence in the nursery. And the more over time that goes, like now he's in all the time because he's developed that level of immunity. The same as a fish, but it can't tolerate certain things such as like a bacterial strain that is coming or that is in my pond, but it will be more resistant. It will have a better chance to fight it for a longer period of time. So if I added that bacteria in October, the fish with the least resistance would have been Rosa, Jaffa and Marty, which were the 3 new fish that I'd added in at that time because they had been with a reputable dealer, somebody who follows the protocols 100%. Unfortunately, because those conditions are so pristine, are so great and are so controlled, the fish hasn't had a chance to encounter, build its immune system like the existing fish. Or this is my understanding of it. So the existing fish in there, because they've been in my pond for like 4 or 5 years, they've got a stronger level of immunity. But the 3 new ones coming in, because they've been in perfect controlled conditions, their immunity isn't at a level that the existing fish have, if that makes sense. So then if we had bacteria, the 3 most at risk would be Rosa, Marty and Jaffa. Of which, since the weather's gone up, because like I said, I waited for the temperature in the pond to increase to a level where I thought, hopefully, fingers crossed, there isn't any bacteria. I should have been more patient with that. I understand that. I should have 1,000,000% been more patient. But the temperature, but I was impatient because I wasn't really enjoying the hobby due to the negativity surrounding this issue over the past 7 months. So I was like gun-ho and just jumped straight in, thinking, fingers crossed, I'll hope for the best. That was a big mistake. On so many levels, that was a big mistake. Not only does it like cost me financially massively, and the fish getting and the kids getting attached to the fish, but obviously it gives grey areas for people to wiggle and dance into if they really wanted to. But because of this information, it's helping me understand how and why and what to expect from the fish. So now the temperature's gone up, but there aren't any visible signs on any of the fish. I'm thinking, because I'm an amateur, it's time to add more fish. I want to enjoy this, so I pop in 3 new fish with the idea of getting it more, the fish more active, a more friendly environment for me to enjoy watching my fish. Okay, so those three go in, but then the temperature is consistent and high for a long level of time, and because the new fish haven't had a chance to really, their immune system is low because they've come from the pristine, controlled environment. They have also got a low level of immunity, and if they were carrying that disease or a bacterial disease, they would have been the first fish to die in that pond. Inevitably, it just would have happened in that order. So yeah, we go back. So now those new fish are in there at risk, but it will take time for the bacteria to enter their bloodstream and really get to grips inside their body and attack them to kill them. Over the course of a few weeks now of a consistent temperature, of an elevated temperature, that bacteria is becoming rampant in the fish. And like I say, the three at most at risk: Rosa, Jaffa and Marty. Marty, the isoshower, pops his clogs early, gutted, and that was the first sign. And at that point, scared and upset. But I thought, and I was begging for it to be the opposite. I was begging for it just to be a random event that happened and was unrelated to anything. But unfortunately, after he died, with very few markings on him, but a bit of deterioration, a bit underneath, then Jaffa starts to deteriorate. You've seen the images, and also as we go forward into this, I'm not going to be providing visual images like I did last time, because it isn't. I'm thinking of my viewers, and I'm thinking you don't want to see fish half-eaten bottom of the mouth, or half-eaten bottoms. You're just going to listen to me sort of describe what's going on. Then Jaffa's obviously deteriorated really bad. You've seen that. You've seen like all the internal stuff that was going on there. There's no signs of wounds from banging or smacking into anything or anything like that. It's just an internal issue that the koi has developed, and unfortunately that is bacterial related. And unfortunately, since recording that video, Jaffa has gone to a level that he's now no longer with us, unfortunately. And I've spoken to my son about, who asked where Jaffa was, and I explained it to him. I didn't explain to him, I just had to come up with some sort of line. Now he's picked his next favourite fish. On reflection on this, wasn't a great idea, so now he's picked Wanda, which obviously is now showing signs. So this is what it's like living with an infested pond next to your house with kids in it. Anyway, I'm going to go back to this of, like I say, my understanding of what could be potentially coming based on information that I've been given and my interpretation of that information of what to expect going forward. So now I'm in a position where Jaffa's died, Marty's died, and hypothetically, I think it's probably going to be Rosa that's dead next. She has got that big mark on her head. It does seem to be inflating. She doesn't look super bad, but she doesn't look great. Do you know what I mean? But with this sort of understanding of how the bacteria or how the fish's natural immune system is built, I don't think she's got that much longer in her, and I ain't got no injections to put in the fish, even though some people have contacted me offering that stuff, but I can't do it. I just have to just sort of like, I don't know. There's just a lot for me to think about. So obviously then from those three, say if Rosa goes soon, which she hasn't yet, she's in the pond, believe it or not. There is 14 fish in that pond, but they are acting a little bit weird, obviously, because I don't think they're very well. So now, with those three being exposed to that low immune system, naturally you'd now think that over time, over the next week or two, and this is hypothetically speaking, we will see Wanda, the new Karachi Guy Jr., which I absolutely adore, and Sunshine. They would be the most at risk because they've got no natural immune system that's been, or they've not got an immune system that's been built to the level of the other ones where they're a little bit more resistant. But saying that, I have seen Tigger, little Tigger, the shower. His behaviour has become a little bit odd recently. He's been going to the corners, and I've just been observing them. Obviously, they built an immune system, but this bacteria is that I don't believe the fish will are able to develop a high enough level of immunity to that bacterial strain to become to be able to fight it off. I could be wrong here, and like I say, this isn't a scientist, professor's thingy. This is me being educated for a while, coming out with a good understanding. What Paula did say, a fish has an innate level of immunity, and then it builds on that over what it encounters, much like a child going to nursery. So then this has led me on to my hypothesis of who will die next. I mean, what the... my thinking, who will die next? But that's the position I'm in. That's the position I've been put in by Mr. Bacterial. And I'm in that position planning or hypothesizing about which fish is dead next. I do wish that this was over. I really do. I really do wish I'd just press cancel button and just I've done with it. But I'm not in that position. Anyway, I'm going to get back off my pedestal and wire me that neck back in. So yeah, so we've got 3 in there, 3 newbies, Rosa, and we've got 9 older, smaller, more built up immune system koi in there, all Japanese. All the koi are Japanese now, which is all I'll ever have. And I've got 1 tench, obviously. Now that's an interesting one because the tench means so much to me. But what am I going to do, really? Like, what am I actually going to do if I get to the end of this, every single koi in there dies or goes to sleep or whatever, and then I'm left with a tench in there, and then I can't put more koi in because the tench could be carrying it, but the tench means so much that I can't get rid of the tench. But I can't add any friends in other than more tench, potentially. Oh man. To actually think about my plan of what is going to happen is impossible because there's just so much to it, and obviously there's time. There's what the temperature is. See, this is the other thing I spoke to Paula about. When will I be able to put any more fish in? Not that I'm massively eager because it won't be 2023. I said, when do you reckon I'll be able to put more in? She went, well, we'd recommend doing a full season and then another spring, and then after that we'd probably say wait another year. So you're looking at like summer of 2025 before I can add another fish in there. So yeah, all in all, that is sort of like where my head is at. Literally at the minute, I'm just thinking about the dying order of the fish. That's fucking weird to think about, isn't it? Which fish is, and by the way, this isn't definitive. This is just me hypothesizing based on the information and a great conversation with an educated lady. Like I say, I'm not an expert. I'm a beginner. 6 years in the game. I'm a beginner. That's all I am, a beginner. And unfortunately, the seas are not being kind to me, and smooth seas don't make great sailors. Well, I'd rather be in the smooth seas, not being a great sailor, enjoying my fish at the minute, than having to go through this merry dance, which is 100% avoidable. 100% avoidable. But that mistake I'll never make. But the reason why I'm sharing this journey with you guys isn't because I want this storyline, if you like, to continue. It's because I have no other option. It's because I can't wave this magic wand over the pond. I can't set fire to the pond or have the pond gone or knock the pond down or kill all the fish or whatever. I just can't do it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's nothing I can't. I'm just stuck in this position, waiting and hoping the weather will be hot enough for long enough for the bacteria to have its full devastating effect if it needs to. And also just like got fingers crossed that somewhere, somehow, something happens where I can just have the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's not going to be a happy ending to this story, and like I say, I'm not going to allow this to sort of pollute the channel vibe, because I am doing it all. I'm trying to do the recordings when I am in a very good mood, so then I don't want this to come across all negative, because the reason why I like recording Koi Fish Johnny is because I love doing these recordings, because I like to think that this cheers people up, that people can have a laugh, that people can have fun watching me be a bit silly, enjoy and learn about the hobby. Unfortunately, I don't know how many koi keepers have to go through this bacteria problem, but I'm one of them. and I would much rather not be. And if I can say something or do something to help people understand the devastating effects that adding something into your pond that's not 100%, that can damage everything that you've got, and your lifestyle, your mentality, everything can be polluted by just adding the wrong thing in. And that wrong thing can come from anywhere. It literally can come from anywhere. You've got to be careful with your ponds, guys. You've got to be careful, and that's what the lesson is in these videos and sharing this, because there's only a few options available to me at this particular point. So anyway, it is what it is. I'd just like you to know that I have trimmed the bush successfully today. And it looks wonderful. I'd show you, but I can't. It's starting to go dark, and I will be updating obviously intermittently going forward. I don't know how often, and if it does go quiet, just think of it as me taking some time out to reflect on what's happening, and sort of get to a level where I'm feeling able to deliver the videos in a manner that I want you to enjoy it, okay? Because at times it is going to get a bit bumpy for me, and the last thing I want you doing is worrying about me. I am able to deal with this, and I will be dealing with this, and I will be moving forward from this. It's just not going to be an overnight thing. Like I say, it could be years that I'm walking on this tightrope, and it is going to be years before I had another bloody fish in there. But we will add another fish in there, providing we can get to the year 2025. Koi Fish Johnny, over and out.